Okay, here I'm providing a solution to 2018 free response question number 3. It says the string checker interface describes classes that check if strings are valid according to some criteria, which we'll talk about in a minute. So we have an interface called string checker. The only thing in the interface is this method called isValid that takes a string and returns a boolean. So a code word checker is a string checker. A code word checker can be constructed with 3 parameters, 2 integers and a string. The first 2 parameters specify the minimum and maximum code word lengths, and the third parameter specifies a string that must not occur in the code word. A code word checker object can also be constructed with a single parameter that specifies a string that must not occur in the code word. So that means that's like a second type of constructor. In this case, the min and max lengths will be 6 and 20 respectively. So we have a first example. So we're saying the min length of the word is 5, the maximum length is 8, and it cannot have a string in it. So if I check if happy is valid, that it would be true because it's a minimum of 5, doesn't have a $sign. But notice the next one is fits within the min and max length criteria, but it does include the $sign, so it's a false. Here's a string with length 4. It automatically is a false. Here's a string with 9 elements, and it falls outside the 8 as a maximum. Now, here's another way to instantiate a code word checker. It's just by saying I can make a string whose default lengths are a minimum of 6, a maximum of 20, and cannot have the string pass in it. So this one would be true because capital P is different than lowercase p. This one would be false because I have pass in it. This happy would be false as well because it doesn't satisfy the minimum requirement. And this last one would also be false because if you count, it goes above 20. So for this one, we're asking you to do the entire class called string checker. So looking for page 13. And so here we go. So they want the entire class. So we're going to say public class code word checker, and this needs to implement the interface string checker. So we're going to say implements string checker. So as soon as we say that, we're going to have to code the method is valid. All right. So I'm going to add some instance data. I'm going to say private int min for the minimum word length, private int max for the maximum string length, and private string. So this is going to be the string that we're not allowed to have, and I'm going to call that no-go. Okay, so we're going to do the first constructor, public code word checker. And this is going to be the one where we only send the string. So this is going to be where we have a default minimum length of 6, a default maximum length of 20, and no-go is going to be equal to the string that we pass to the constructor S. Then we're going to write our second constructor, and this is the one where we send the 2 integers and the string, and I'm calling those int m, int n, and string s, and now we're going to assign those to our instance data. So min will be equal to m, max will be equal to n, and no-go is going to be equal to s. So that completes both of our constructors. So now we have to write a method called, with the exact method header like that is in the interface, public boolean is valid. We're going to send it a string. So we're going to test it. So we're going to be referencing the index of method. So we need to make sure that it's um, bigger than the min, smaller than the max, and that it doesn't contain no-go. So we'll use the index of method. So we're going to make a big if statement. We're going to say if str index of no-go, the string that we don't want, is greater than -1, and str length actually, I think we want to say here that we don't want to find it. So since we don't want to find it, we want it to be less than 0. So this is saying that we don't want to find the string no-go. So if we don't find it, it's going to return -1. And then we're going to say as long as the length is greater than the min and string dot length is less than the max. If all these things are true, we're going to return true. Else, we're going to return false. Otherwise, it's not what we're looking for. So once again, if we find the string, it's going to be a number greater than 0. And we don't want the string to be in there for it to be is valid. So if index of returns like -1, that would be the case here. The string is greater than the min and less than the maximum, then I could return true. Otherwise, I would return false. And that's it. Thank you.